Are you new to looking for freelance writing work, either because you just graduated or you got laid off? Well, if so, I have 11 tips from when I got my first science writing gigs. 1. Find a niche. I struggled to find work when I was just a run of the mill English major. But when I became an expert in biology, it became a lot easier to get work. Learning to write about something complicated turned out to be an especially great edge because not many people can understand medicine and biology and write well. And you actually don't need an advanced degree to become a science writer, or I imagine a writer in any complicated field. But if you're just starting out, immersing yourself in a difficult field so you can write about it intelligently and with insight is what I recommend. You'll have less competition, and these tend to be smaller universes. So once you get a little experience, it'll be easier to network. 2, find opportunities that make you uniquely attractive. So when you're just getting started, you need to look for an opening. For me, a laboratory fire at UC Santa Cruz was my first big break. It got me my first freelance writing assignment for the magazine The Scientist. I heard about the fire from a friend on campus, and I immediately cold called the editorial offices. Because I already read the magazine, I was pretty sure it would be the kind of thing they'd run. My main pitching point was that I was physically in Santa Cruz, that I could go up to campus right away, see what was going on, interview people, take pictures, and write about it quickly. They said yes and didn't even ask about my experience. And because I did a good job, my next pitches were welcome, and writing for The Scientist became my first regular gig. 3, read the publications you want to write for. So, one implied tip in that story is that you should be regularly reading the publications you want to write for. You have to know what they've already covered so you don't look clueless pitching something they just ran. And you have to be familiar with the tone and scope of the stories so your pitch pieces are appropriate. 4, pay attention to local events. Another strategy that's tied to geography is to offer to cover conferences or events in your hometown or that you'll be attending anyway. This works especially well for trade magazines that may be interested in the event but not have the budget to send someone. If you're going to be there anyway, it's a good way to get your foot in the door without a lot of experience. 5, join writing groups and trade associations. When I was starting out as a science writer, I joined the National Association of Science Writers and later the American Medical Writers Association. You should engage in the discussion groups or social media pages and go to the events and meet people. A large part of getting a job or getting new clients or assignments is who you know, because a lot of freelance opportunities are never posted anywhere. If you're shy and have a hard time making small talk, volunteer to help in some way. You could set up the room or offer to contact potential speakers, anything that gives you a reason to talk to people. 6, get business cards. Now, I know a lot of people don't do business cards anymore, but I still like them. When you give someone a physical card, it makes you harder to forget. At the very least, people will probably put your card in their pocket or their bag and think of you again when they take it out after the event. And you never know, they might follow you on social media or even keep the card and see it on their desk or in a drawer when they need help in the future. It's a really affordable way to get in front of people at least one more time after you've met. 7, make sure you have a decent social media presence. I think the minimum is having a complete profile on LinkedIn, and I think it can help you even more if you write posts somewhere online about your industry. I always check people's social media posts before I do any hiring, so think about whether what people see will make them want to hire you. 8, look for work during the holidays. Another way to get your foot in the door is to write when nobody else wants to. Look hard for work around the holidays. Many established writers will turn down work in December, but businesses still need things written. One part of finding new clients as a freelance writer is just being in the right place when someone desperately needs help and is willing to take a chance on a new writer. So a well-timed, just checking in message can work wonders. These days, I would definitely turn down work because of the holidays, but when I was just getting started, I picked up a lot of new assignments and clients in November and December. 9. Pitch at the end of the fiscal year. Another good time of year to put your search in overdrive is at the end of a fiscal year. Big companies and government agencies often have money left at the end of the fiscal year, and if they don't spend it, they lose it. Find out when the fiscal year ends for the people you want to work for, and drop them a line or call them to say hello around that time. Many companies do end their fiscal year December 31st, but not all. The US government ends its fiscal year September 30th, and Investopedia says Microsoft ends its fiscal year on the last day of June, and Walmart ends its fiscal year at the end of January. Though if your dream client is a public company, you can check its SEC filings to figure out when it ends its fiscal year, and it can be worth it. I picked up lots of work from people who found themselves with money to spend and only a couple of weeks to spend it. I even had a client who prepaid me for work a couple of times so she wouldn't lose the money. 10. Make friends. Also, when you're just getting started, don't be afraid to ask for help and advice. You have nothing to lose but a little dignity, and you'll probably even get to keep that. Right after I graduated, I met a couple of people at a party who freelanced for the local newspaper, and I wanted to ask them for introductions and advice, but I was too afraid, and I was being ridiculous. What did I have to lose? Maybe they would have thought I was annoying, but I never saw them again anyway. More likely, they would have loved to talk about their jobs and pass on bits of useful information. Most people love to talk about their work, and if you're not pressuring them to give you a job or an introduction immediately, they're usually happy to give you advice, which can start out as general advice but become more specific if they like you. Just make friends. If they work in the industry you want to be in, you probably have a lot in common anyway. 11. Build a good reputation. Finally, once you get assignments, move heaven and earth to do a good job. It's absolutely shocking how many writers miss their deadlines. Make your deadlines. Author Mur Lafferty said it best on a panel at the Worldcon conference about writing games, but it applies to all writing situations. If you get a reputation for being dependable, you're more likely to get work. Even if you are not the most brilliant writer, editors know you are much more likely to get hired than the brilliant writer who is always late. And if you've been given a word count target, hit it. Don't turn in something really long and tell the editor you'll leave it to them to cut it down. If you really can't decide what they'd like, at least highlight parts that could be deleted. But in general, the person who's giving you an assignment is hoping it comes in needing as little work as possible. And if your work comes in clean and finished, they're more likely to hire you again. In the end, it still comes back to who you know, and that can work for or against you. So build a reputation as a solid, dependable writer who's easy to work with, and after a few years, work will be a lot easier to find. 12. Bonus tip. And finally, I came across a great book about freelancing a few years ago called The Essential Guide to Freelance Writing by Zachary Pettit. I never taught freelancing when I was a college professor, but if I had, it's the book I would have used because it's full of advice like I just gave you from my own experience and more. So happy graduation to those of you who are just leaving school and good luck to you, and to those who are a little more experienced but also looking for freelance work. Grammar Girl is a quick and dirty tips podcast. Thanks to Morgan Christianson, Rebekah Sebastian, Maram Elnagheeb, Stephen Schapansky, Holly Hutchings, Dan Feierabend, and Nat Hoops, who couldn't say his R's until 4th grade. And I'm Mignon Fogarty, better known as Grammar Girl. That's all. Thanks for listening. And remember to like and subscribe.